Hi everyone. Today I want to continue on with a series that I've been doing on the Criterion Channel, films that are both coming and going. This is for April 2021, and there are 108 new films coming, 65 are leaving, so a net gain of about 43. I've heard that the Criterion Channel has well over 1,000 titles now available to be seen. It's certainly my go-to streaming channel. I every once in a while I get some of the other ones. I have Amazon Prime all the time, but I get the other ones just for a month or so because I'm always much more interested in the curated sections in the Criterion Channel. So let's see, and I'm only going to go over movies that I know something about. I'm eager to watch. Most of these are going to be classic films from, say, before 1980. The first curated section is entitled Scores by Ennio Morricone, of course one of the great film composers of the second half of the 20th century into our new century. It covers the years 1965 to 2002. I'll just mention a few of the ones that I'm looking forward to seeing. Quiet Place in the Country with Franco Nero, Vanessa Redgrave. This was the Elio Petri movie from 1968, which I've never seen. The description and the film on IMDb sounded pretty interesting. One I really am going to see is Burn from 1969. This was Marlon Brando. He was making a lot of films and very strange movies in the 1960s, and here he plays a man who leads a slave rebellion on a fictional island, Komodo, in the Caribbean. And there's two versions of this film. This is the 112-minute version, the American version, which is called Burn. And then there's about 20 minutes longer in the international version, which was called Komodo after the name of the fictional island. There's a Sergio Leone. Certainly Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns were what made Ennio Morricone famous in the 1960s. This is Duck You Sucker. It stars a very toothy James Coburn, a very hammy Rod Steiger, but it's an entertaining movie, and Morricone's score is really unusual in this movie. Days of Heaven, Terry Malick's, that comes in and out of the on and off the channel periodically. There's a movie from 2002 called Ripley's Game. It was directed by Liliana Cavani, I believe her name was, and she in this stars John Malkovich as Ripley, and this was the Patricia Highsmith character in a lot of movies. I thought Malkovich was very good. I didn't remember that Ennio Morricone wrote a score to this movie, but I'm definitely going to check this out. Now, we always need comedy. No one needs me to encourage them to watch the Marx Brothers. They're classics. If you've never seen them, there's going to be 10 of their movies being shown this month, the month of April 2021. I guess my favorite has always been Duck Soup. Leo G. McCarey directed it. And then another really interesting curated section called The Gamblers, and there's a lot of terrific movies in this section. There's two by Robert Altman. One is McCabe and Mrs. Miller, a Western with Warren Beatty, Julie Christie. And the other one, California Split, is rumored to be coming to the Criterion and into the Criterion collection. It stars the recently deceased Stuart Siegel, Elliot Gould, and it's said to be probably the most accurate portrayal of what compulsive gamblers feel when they lose, but even more so when they win. And it's a very entertaining film. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm definitely going to see it. You can see Burt Lancaster in a 1980 movie, Atlantic City, with Susan Sarandon. Paul Thomas Anderson's sensational debut, I thought, Hard Eight, with Samuel Jackson. Gwyneth Paltrow, I think is one of her first films. Also, The Gambler, that's directed by Carl Rice. James Toback, I think, did the screenplay, and he was, I believe, a compulsive gambler, so I guess you get a pretty accurate portrayal of what it feels to be a gambler. James Caan was the star of that film. There's a whole bunch of fairly recent Criterion editions from their Criterion collection being released this month, including Moonrise, a 1948 movie from legendary Frank Borzage, and this is probably his last major film. To Sleep with Anger from 1990 from Charles Burnett. I've never seen this, I don't think. I'm definitely going to check it out. Two really recent Criterion Collection releases, spine numbers 1066, 1067. It's Man Push Cart from 2005, Chop Shop from 2007. And then we had The Leopard from 1963. That's been in the collection a long time. If you've never seen it, Burt Lancaster stars in a sumptuous film set in the Italian Revolution, directed by Luchino Visconti, Elaine Delon, Claudia Cardinale are in it. There's an English language and a Italian dub, and both are being offered on the channel. I've seen both of them. I don't know. I think I actually like the Italian dub, but dubbing in Italian movies, as most people know, have watched very many Italian movies. It's not very good anyways, but this is absolutely gorgeous movie to watch. Another very recent film, and those films have supplements. The ones I just mentioned, Smooth Talk is here already, and I think that just came out last month. Laura Dern, Treat Williams, Joan Chopra, director. No supplements though with this one. I haven't seen it. I'm definitely going to watch this. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I haven't purchased it yet. Then, of course, there's the Film Foundation, 30 years of the Film Foundation, where they add films. Criterion Channel adds films every year that have been restored through the aegis of the Film Foundation. Two caught my eye. I think there's about 6 coming. 2 of them that caught my eye was Force of Evil from 1948. This was Abraham Polanski's first film and the last one he made in Hollywood. He directed until I think Tony Woolley Boy is here, Robert Redford Western, almost 20 years later. This Force of Evil, stars James Garfield in a really good role. And there's also 1949's Caught. This was Max Ophuls' movie, and with a very creepy performance by Robert Ryan. Okay, so that's my recommendations, things that I'm enthusiastic about that are coming to the channel in April 2021. There are 65 leaving. There's so many in there that are worth seeing. But I'll start off with the von Sternberg, Marlene, and Dietrich, 8 films that they had. Looks like all of those are leaving. My physical release has been back-ordered, I think, till the end of April. But I did watch The Blue Angel, which isn't on the physical release, which is the Hollywood movies. The Blue Angel were made in Germany in both a German and an English language version. And I also watched Morocco, the first film they made together in Hollywood, which I think is probably my favorite. But I hadn't seen any of these in a long time, and Marlene Dietrich really stunned me at how charismatic she was in these von Sternberg movies. Another movie from the same era, in 1932, I think, The Old Dark House, directed by James Whale, has one heck of a cast. It's got Boris Karloff, Charles Lawton, Raymond Massey, Melvin Douglas, and it's a hoot. I did watch this, and it's really a fun movie. The Old Dark House with a traveler stranded in the old dark house on a stormy night. Jumping up to the 1940s, They Live by Night. This was Nicholas Ray's first film, and I'm kind of piped to see this one again because I just finished reading a book called A Light in the Dark by David Thompson, a history of movie directors, and he devotes a chapter to Nicholas Ray, and it was so interesting, and David, I highly recommend this book, that I had to see I'm definitely going to catch this before it leaves on April 30th. There's a Franco Rossi film from the 60s, or maybe 70, the Mattei Affair, docudrama of a affair that plane crash of a famous Italian that haunted Italian society for several years. Skipping back to the 50s, The Tall Target. This I did see with Dick Powell as a Pinkerton agent who was assigned to uncover a plot to assassinate Abraham Lincoln when Lincoln was on his way to Washington for the first inauguration. It's directed by Anthony Mann in his film noir era before he started making westerns that brought him to real prominence and enduring interest in his career. But this is a really well-made film. A lot of it's set on a train. I love films set on trains. I did catch Cotton Comes to Harlem. That stars Godfrey Cambridge. It's a detective story. It's kind of outlandish, a bit outdated, but I thought it was a lot of fun. Red Fox is also in there, Sanford from Sanford and Son. Very interesting movie I got to catch up with, Uptight. This was Jules Dassin talking about blacklisting. He had been blacklisted. I just saw Night in the City, which was the last Hollywood, well, he filmed it in England, but for a Hollywood studio, 20th Century Fox, and but filmed in England very fast because the blacklist was closing in on him, and the pressure would have mounted, even though he was in England, to take him off the project. So then he made films in Europe. He came back in 1968, I think it was, 69 maybe, for Uptight. And this is a film that he collaborated with the actress Ruby Dee, who's credited with the screenplay. It's an updating of John Ford's The Informer from 1935, set in the black ghetto. I think it's in Cleveland. And the score is, I remember the score really impressing me by the legendary Booker T and the MGs. And lastly, I'll mention a movie that I did rewatch, which was Gregory's Girl, Bill Forsyth's first film, his debut film, set in Scotland. You might have to put the subtitles on. I'm not good with Scottish accents, so I did have to put subtitles on. But it's a beautiful film about a very quiet and simple film about the ordinary kids growing up. None of these kids are bad kids. They're just struggling with, oh, it's bittersweet. It's very comical. And Bill Forsyth, who's, I guess, left Hollywood, left making movies way too early. I guess he got frustrated with the difficulties it was in funding, being able to fund movies. So, or finding people willing to finance his films, but he made a lot of terrific movies, including Local Hero and many others. Housekeeping is another one I watched recently that I really liked. So that'll be it. That'll wrap up. I went through very fast, but I didn't want to make too long a video, and I still wanted to get as many movies in there as I could to recommend and be enthusiastic about. So. Other than that, you guys stay well, and I'll catch you next time.